Hey everybody, I was just getting ready to set up the camera to shoot a topic video tonight, a discussion video, and a thought popped into my head that I wanted to throw out there while I'm thinking about it, and that is the idea of putting cardinal tetras in this tank. I've been talking about doing that for a little while now, and a few people have reminded me that cardinal tetras prefer warmer temperatures. And as this tank is in about the mid-70s, I don't even know exactly what the temperature is. I did just put a heater in here recently. So we're probably around 75 to 78 degrees, and that simply would not be warm enough for cardinal tetras. So my next game plan was going to be to put a bunch of neons in here. I thought maybe 15 or 20 neons swimming around would look fantastic. And I still do think 15 or 20 neons swimming around in here would look fantastic. But I've got a fairly large spotted tilapia in this tank. I don't know where it is at the moment. It's usually back here hiding in the corner somewhere, but I don't see it at the moment. So it's probably way in the back somewhere. But the spotted tilapia seems to be mostly vegetarian. That's why all of this water sprite looks like that. It's all just little pieces of water sprite. There's no real large plants in here. And I mean, you can see it's even down to like little chunks of it sometimes. And that's all because it gets eaten up by the, everybody thinks they're getting their dinner right now. Actually, we can go ahead and throw some food in the tank. See if I can do this one-handed. So the tilapia is primarily, I don't want to say vegetarian, but it primarily eats the plant material in the tank. It really goes after the algae wafers. This is really more difficult than I thought it was going to be to do one-handed. Hang on a minute. Alright, here we go. A whole bunch of flake food in there. So as much as the spotted tilapia seems to eat the plants and the vegetation and all that stuff, it's easily big enough to eat neons. And I'm really wondering if I put 15 or 20 neons in there, would that not wind up being some really expensive fish food? So the only thing that gives me hope that that would not be the case is the fact that I've got all of these minnows swimming around in the tank. A lot of these, most of these in fact, are probably small enough for that tilapia to eat if it really wanted to eat these minnows. It's not a small fish. It's about 8 or 9 inches long. So I just really don't think it's that kind of fish. I don't think the tilapia is really going to be in there munching down on the minnows. I mean on the neons. So what I might do is buy a few neons, maybe, 3 or 4, just something like that. I've thought about trying to catch a few out of some of my other tanks and put them in here since they're already pre-quarantined. Neons are just one of those fish. I always quarantine neons. Neons are just little disease vectors for some reason. I have no idea why. Probably the way they're bred or something. But neons always seem to have ick, and just neons always go in quarantine. That's just one of my personal rules of thumb. Not to say I never break it, but it is one of my rules that I try to stick to. And in this case, I'm definitely not throwing a bunch of neons into this tank, because treating a 125-gallon tank like this is expensive. So if I do buy neons, I'll have to buy a few. I'll have to put them in quarantine, and then we'll have to put them in the tank and then wait and see what happens and see if they don't get preyed upon by somebody. I can't imagine who else in the tank would eat the neons if it wasn't for that tilapia, and I still don't see it anywhere. I figured it would be poking its head out somewhere once some food went in the tank. It usually does tend to stay towards the back of the tank, even when the food goes in, but it does move around and come out a bit. So while I'm thinking about it as well, if you see that white suckerfish on the bottom there, that is the one, for my regular viewers from a while back, that is the one that injured itself. It jumped out of my waterfall tank and landed in the smaller tank below it. I had to catch it by hand and move it into this tank, and it's never really fully truly recovered. If you look at it, you can see how it's kind of angular and looks sort of bony. It's sort of strange looking. If you look at the other ones, especially if you look at them side by side, you can see these just have a much rounder, smoother body. It's almost like the other one looks slightly emaciated. And then this, of course, down here is the bigger of the three, the biggest of the three. But it's definitely, you can definitely tell its body is not quite the same shape as the other ones, and it's just always skinnier and just never looks quite right. I'm not waiting for it to die or anything like that, but it just has never looked quite right ever since I put it in this tank after it suffered that injury. So it is very, you know, distinguishable at this point. You can see it almost looks gaunt. So, alright, I'm getting really curious as to where this tilapia is. So I'm going to walk around the end of the tank here and have a look behind it. Nope, just exercise equipment. I was thinking I might be seeing a big dead fish on the floor. Oh, I do see a little dead fish on the floor, but that looks like it's been there for quite a while. And that is just a minnow back there by one of the exercycles. No sign of the tilapia back there, and yet still no sign of the tilapia in the tank. Anyway, those were just my thoughts. Oh, still don't see it. And I wanted to get them out there, thinking about whether or not to try putting some neons in the tank. And I'm also kind of curious as to why we've got this huge mountain of gravel piled up now. It's not like anything has changed in the tank. So some fish is in there and has been kicking up the gravel. I wonder if that's not the tilapia doing that, because I know the tilapia certainly moves the gravel around at this end of the tank. You can see all that cleared out gravel where you can see the egg crate plastic showing through at the bottom. I long ago gave up moving the gravel back in there. All the fish does is just move it back out again. But somebody has been moving the gravel down here now, and I've got a great big pile of it. I guess I did get in there and use a wire brush, or a bottle brush rather, not a wire brush, but a bottle brush, and I cleaned off the grating and screen all around my power head. So I wonder if I didn't really open it up so much that I actually am moving so much water now that it moved all of that gravel. Because that's actually what it looks like. It looks like that gravel's just been blown out by the power head and just sort of blown into this, you know, sort of washout. So maybe that's what it was. Maybe I made a huge difference when I cleaned out that power head there. Alright everybody, I'm going to call that the end of this video. I'm really fascinated as to where this tilapia is hiding. And it's not that it doesn't have plenty of room to hide. It's not like I don't imagine it's not just right back behind this huge pile of everything it can get behind. I'm just curious as to why it hasn't made any kind of glimpse of an appearance. It's usually not. There it is. And it was just chasing one of the other fish out from behind there. So that's the fish I've been talking about this whole time, is that spotted tilapia. And I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a problem, but I don't want to spend the money to put 15 or 20, 25 neons in there and then just have them turn into fish food. So I'm going to say make sure you're subscribed. You don't want to miss whatever I got coming up. As I said, I'm getting ready to sit down and shoot a topic video. I want to talk about why I do not use the Fluval FX6 filters, as a lot of people have recommended to me. Especially just, you know, throughout the course of the years. I've had a lot of people over the years recommended it to me. But I just put a new filter on this tank recently, and while doing so, a lot of people recommended that Fluval FX6. And I was about to sit down and shoot a video explaining why I don't use that. So make sure you're subscribed and you won't miss that video or anything else I've got coming up. So thanks for watching. Don't forget, this one here is my 125-gallon native tank. I'll see you real soon in the next one.